Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs, and today we are looking at my custom Valaverse Nighthawk figure. I'm calling him Nighthawk. Don't really have a name for him. He's just a special ops operator and a really cool kit bash that I wanted to share with you guys. You guys know I love my military, I love my tactical, I love functionality. And this feels like the epitome of all of that, mixed with a little bit of semi-futuristic design. So diving into him, let's talk about what is kit bashed here. So basically we have a Valaverse gas mask helmet up here on the head. Actually, I'm gonna just pop this off so I can get better rotation. We have a Valaverse gas mask head here, and then we have the Firefly goggles sculpted over the top. So we've cut away the edges of the goggles there, and then taken some sculpting putty, smacked it over the normal visors. On top of that, we removed his filter on the right side and pasted it with the, what was it, the SCP Dragon Horse 001 or something. We took the little filter cover from there, sculpted it, sanded it and sculpted it into the secondary port, and that allows him to actually shoulder his gun and look through like sights, like through his irons or through a scope, because this isn't in the way. Valaverse gives you the option just to pop these filters out anyways, so that it helps your characters shoulder the gun when they have the gas mask on, which also really cool feature. I love that they thought about this. But on the flip side, I figure I don't want him to just have an empty port. Makes no sense. I'm just going to cover it up with a filter cover. So there we go for that. And then, so those are really the couple big additions, and then it just comes down to paint here. So we have 3 different tones of red here. We have this hexagonal bright cherry red. We have a much darker red for this top lens, and then we have more of orange pinkish color here with this white light coming through. Another fun addition is for the flashlight up here. I don't know how it's coming off on camera, but you can see it. There's a slight purple tint to it. It's not directly straight white, and that's because I wanted this flashlight to actually be a black light. With this whole helmet and mask system, as well as the whole design of the character, I wanted these guys, whoever these operators are, to be dropping into more of like chemical warfare, biohazard zones. And so whether maybe they're responding to a nuclear reactor being attacked, and there's a ton of radiation, or maybe something like the Division, where there's been a bio weapon or biochemical weapon unleashed on an urban area. These guys have to respond to it. So a blacklight flashlight makes a lot more sense, especially since they have night vision goggles or some other aperture up here across his eyes. Coming to the back here, little yellow dot for the button. I just think that's fun. And then you can see that we have dry brushed gunmetal and silver weathering across his headphones and across these across the rails here. And then all the little Velcro bits up here have been washed in some black and some brown to help just highlight the texture, because the texture is already sculpted and it's just harder to see. And then for the gas mask here, you can see we have a little bit more metallic dry brushing. And then around the lenses, it's easier to see on camera. In real life, it's a little bit more subtle just because of the harsh lighting. But you can see we have some gray paint and some gunmetal picking out across these lenses. And in real life, since it's a bit more subtle, what it just helps to do is just differentiate the layers here. So you can see we almost have a stripe pattern. We go black to gray to black to gray to black across the lenses here, and that just helps the eye pick up on the layers, and so all the details don't get muddled up in this black paint job, but instead you're able to actually say, oh, look at that, he's got some little black clamps around the lens on this side, or it helps you pick out the layers of the sculpt here, since this lens looks like it can zoom in and out a little bit more. So really playing to the paint colors and paint layers of subtlety just to bring out detail. Even up here in the mouth, there's a really black gray paint inside the inside the vents or this porting of the filter, so that it's easier to pick out all that texture detail. So really subtle paint, but trying to bring out as many of the details in the helmet as possible. Coming to the alternate head really quick, this is just the Valaverse Recon Trooper head with the Recon Trooper helmet. But for some reason, all their troopers recently, they come with no earpieces, even though they have all the little portholes for it. So I just put on the armored helmet, low caps for the sides for his ears, and then he's got his night vision goggles on. Really, really cool. I'm glad Valaverse put these on a little hinge here. Love that. And I just made the little lenses a bit brighter. The mask itself, I dry brushed it a little bit, but nothing really to go over on video. Jumping to the body now, let's talk about everything we got going on here. First of all, isn't that sick, dude? Look at this. So cool. So fun. All right, let's talk about part sourcing. So this is mostly based on the Valaverse Recon Trooper. The arms, legs, lower torso, crotch, and for the body, that's Recon Trooper. The actual upper torso area, this is the Atlas figure. The reason why I use the Atlas figure is I like the Atlas vest. I love the high collar that came with him, and I like the little bit more bulky appearance that his vest has, whereas the Recon Trooper has a much lighter, has some lighter web gear. And realistically, a lot of the Valaverse stuff for this, whatever, Series 4, Series 5, I think it's Series 5, they don't have a lot of like bulletproof vest type gear going on. They're much more scout. This recent wave has been a little bit more scout themed in a way. And so with lighter gear, I wanted a guy who was much heavier. So Atlas was the one who had a really, really nice bulky vest. And just to keep his vest from shaking around a ton, I put it with the Atlas body. I wanted to replace the inner butterfly joint here because Valaverse actually just puts them on little tabs. They're like these little circular tabs. So if you heat the butterfly joint up in hot water, you can pop the arm out and just sort of pinch the butterfly joint down and slide them out. Unfortunately, the peg holes were actually different. I was hoping for universal compatibility because in terms of height, they're actually the same size, but the portholes are a little bit different. So unfortunately, not compatible. So this little green armpit texture here does not come up into the butterfly joint, but it's okay. We can ignore it. So this is the Atlas vest. And then the ammo pouches are normally 2 giant shotgun clips or 2 giant shotgun magazines for Atlas's auto shotgun. I swapped those out for the Recon Trooper triple mag pouches right there. And then just a completely different paint job. The vest is normally tan. I sprayed this down with, I think it was Duplicolor black, so that it would be really, really weather and scratch proof, because that was a big thing. I was like, I know his arms are going to be touching it. I know my hands are going to be all over this. I don't want the paint chipping. So Duplicolor black for the weatherproof nature of it. And then you can see when we come in here, we have dry brushed green and gray all over the vest to really bring out all his little Molly detailing, coming all the way back around here. Much more green, much more gray. And then I did leave these straps and this pouch in the original sand color because I liked it and I wanted to play more around with that sand throughout some of the other detailings on the character. The radio here got a little red circle. Honestly, I just like the division, and so if I can add in a little bit of extra future tech in there, I do. So put that little red circle there. He's still got the Valaverse logo. Whatever, I don't know what team they are. Honestly, I don't keep up with that lore. But he's got the logo up there just because I liked it. I thought it was in a good place, and I didn't want to repaint that flag. And then moving around to the back here, I did take Atlas's knife. I glued it to, I glued it in with a peg, and now it actually slides into the back. I super glued everything in, and the reason why is because even Atlas, his vest shimmies around, even though it's a bigger, wider chest that helps fit this vest. It still has a little bit of give to it. So now with the peg port running through the knife, through the vest into the back, it allows me to fully and smoothly articulate. Before, like there's a tad bit of wiggle still on the vest, but there was a lot more shift in either direction. And so this just helps solidify the whole upper torso and allows me to take advantage of the articulation a lot more. So there we go, that's the upper body. Moving to the arms here, these are the Recon Soldier arms. This shoulder pad here I honestly don't remember where I got it. I've had it for years in my fodder box. It was 3D printed by someone. And so I decided to make it his shoulder pad here. I went for an asymmetrical design, and we'll talk about that more later. But he's got a heavier shoulder pad up on the left side. We have a sand-colored strap painted across the front here. You can see we actually have two tones for this shoulder pad. We have some black with some gray speckling up here, and then we have a much more black-gray color running across the edge of this plate. I'm not sure how much that's actually showing up on camera. It's all getting a little bit muddied. And then up here, I sculpted this little tab coming off the top of the shoulder, and it was a real struggle to get it to look like it was hanging properly. You can actually see that it leans a little bit down towards the back, and so just trying to get that expressiveness in terms of the weight and structure of this fabric. But it works out really well. I think it turned out great, and it's just a little bit of extra detail because, you know, normally this strap would be connected up to the vest. He's wearing it a little bit lighter, or for whatever reason it's broken. So fun little tiny extra details to be added in. Coming down to the lower arm here, we have his extra little straps here. I don't really know what you would call these. I guess it's also Molly. It's probably also Molly. But we got some straps here also picked out in sand. And then these hands are actually from the Samurai Valaverse guy. Just because the Recon Soldier comes with these really kind of bright green hands, and I didn't like them. So I went for the black gloves instead. And you can see here all the little hard part of the knuckles and the little armor bits on the fingers have been picked out in a dark gray, and then I sprayed it over with a satin varnish. This whole character is actually sprayed over with a satin varnish to protect the paint because I've been handling this guy a lot, so I wanted him to be a bit more durable. So like picking out the armor there. Coming down to the lower torso, it's the Recon Soldier. It has a black wash over it and just helps add some detail and depth to a shirt. Coming down to the belt here, I didn't like that the Valaverse Series 5 had all the belts and pistol holsters coded to the left side. Just personally didn't like it, and I didn't feel like the holsters were really holding the pistol very well, so I just did away with the belt entirely. So he's got some little 3D printed sculpted pouches up on here. These were also just in my fodder box. You can see we picked out some little gray detailing up on the little tab and up on the edge of the pouch there. The belt's been painted in green, and that's just a matte forest green, I think mixed with a little bit of black and brown to get that tone. We have another knife here. This one is a much shorter blade that he can pick out with his left hand for either an overhand or like more of an ice pick grip, whichever one he prefers. Coming down to the legs, still Recon Soldier here. I painted a little red line down the edge of the pants, something that just felt cool. It just looks good. There's really no point to it. I know that some motorcycle law enforcement officers, they have like a yellow stripe down the pants, so I was kind of thinking about that, but I was like, obviously he's not on a motorcycle or a cop. So I went with the red line instead. And that just helps tie together some of the other red motifs throughout. Obviously, the helmet has a lot of red. We got the little red detailing up in here. We also do have some blood splatter across the vest here. You can see a little bit of red up there, a little bit of red across the sand pouch here. And then there's a little bit of red in there. And you can kind of see the color difference in the camera. So various bits of red. And so this just helps keep that motif running down the leg. Picked out his little zippers in gunmetal on both sides, and then we come to this side pouch here. This plate with the straps is from the, I want to say, if I'm guessing, I think it was Condor. That's been repainted with gray and black, and then I took a G.I. Joe right-sided holster here. I have a suppressor in here from G.I. Joe, and then we have the custom pistol from Valaverse here. Sight has been picked out in red. The Trigicon iron sight has a little bit of that green for more of that like night sight look. And then the flashlight has been picked out with some pearl white. the whole handgun has been also washed with some matte black just to get into the crevices and weather up the grip. Looks really good. And then I have some gunmetal in the magazine since it's a little bit extended, so I figured that'd be a nice detail. He's got sort of this chromed out mag there. For the suppressor here, if you notice, I did say it was a G.I. Joe suppressor, and you might be going, wait, are they compatible? They're not compatible. Instead, I did what a psycho would do. I cut the nub of or I cut the little port peg of the suppressor down a little bit, and then I took sandpaper and an X-Acto knife, and I shaved down very, very slowly so that it was compatible with the pistol. Why I did it like this? It was really because I wanted to use this holster. This holster from G.I. Joe fit the pistol really well. The pistol fits perfectly in here, which is just luck. But it had this suppressor right there, suppressor holder, and I was like, I either cut the holster, and I have to deal with smoothing it out and making it all look nice and seamless, or I just leave it there and I adapt the suppressor to the pistol. So that seemed like the easier option to me. So now he's got a nice big old suppressor for his handgun. And honestly, this pistol already comes with a suppressor, but the suppressor that Valaverse includes is about half the size. And this handgun looks like it's shooting 45. And if it is shooting 45, the suppressor they included with it would probably do about nothing. So I think a bulkier suppressor for a little bit of a heavier round also makes perfect sense. So there we go. Coming down to the boots here, they are in sort of that bright green, and you can see some of that bright green still come through in the ankles just a little bit. But for the actual boots themselves, the exteriors, not counting the joint, they have been washed in black. And then I picked out all of this extra lining in a semi-gloss black, just to help differentiate across the green. I didn't want it all to be green, because if it was all green, it looks a little bit less like fabric and it looks a little bit more like rubber, and I didn't want him to feel like he was wearing rubber boots. So I think just differentiating some materials and some layers there is really good. The laces are painted in gray, and then you can see I have a bunch of brown weathering and just sort of splashing all across the boot there. The light's a little bit harsh. It's not coming across too clearly. Let me try to adjust this a little bit. How does that come across? Marginally better. But yeah, there's a bunch of brown splattered up across the boots and up across the leg there. So that is basically it for this character. But I do lastly, I guess I should talk about his rifle too. We have the silver mags being stored in the triple pouch here. So we have his SBR, his short-barreled rifle, and I wanted to keep with more of that silver highlight design. So since his mag is silver, I made the barrel also silver, and I think that's fun. He has his little integrated suppressor here, and then, or not integrated, I guess it's not integrated, it's separate. You can pull it off the barrel. So he's got his suppressor over the top there, and then picked that out in gunmetal. It's hard on camera, but it is actually two tones between the suppressor and the barrel of the rifle. And then the rest is just sort of dry brushed with some matte black, some semi-gloss black in the other venting around the barrel. And then you have some gunmetal dry brushing on the body of the gun as well. Red for the sights, as you've seen already. So there we go. That's his SBR. And then last but not least, actually, I did want to talk a little bit about some extra details up on this guy. Besides the sculpting, the asymmetrical pads lend themselves to actually sculpted a little patch up on his arm here. And I put a little sort of hazard red exclamation mark with some, it's looking a little bit darker on camera. It's a pretty bright, punchy orange. I don't know why it looks a little bit muddied down, but it's a pretty bright, punchy orange, and so I thought that was a nice little hazmat type logo to put up on his shoulder there. And then for the knives, I did consider functionality with the knives when I was baking these in. Obviously already talked about how he can reach with his left hand here, pull his dagger out. The blade, as you can see, is facing down, so it makes sense when he draws it, he can come and then point it up and cut and fight in either direction. So it's not facing towards him when he pulls it out, it's facing away from him when he pulls it out. And then likewise for the blade up here, it is also facing the right direction. So when he pulls it out, he can automatically go to fight with it right there. And fun fact, he can actually reach it too, which is really, really nice. So angled it, both are angled in such a way that they are actually able to reach their respective blades from either side. For the sheath back here, this is like, I think I said it already, it's from the Atlas figure. So I just had to cut off the giant keyed peg that was on the back, sanded in a tiny little hole so that I could grab onto the peg and glue securely. The sheath itself is painted in a matte black and then dry brushed with some brown to pull some texture out. And then we have this, it's chrome silver mixed with some matte black to make this more matted gunmetal, a bit less shiny and a little bit more weathered, but we still to bring across that hardware. So yeah, I think that basically covers it for this figure. Really, really fun design. I like it a ton. I think he looks gnarly. This is the second custom Valaverse figure I've made. I'm planning on doing another one just because I think Valaverse is making the best articulated and probably the best designed figures and accessories out there so far. I think that sometimes their sculpts and molding come across a little too soft. I think they could work on some of their edges, but thankfully paint goes a long way. So here we go. We got the two boys here so far. And I'll showcase more as I make them. Thank you all for checking out the video. Much love to you all. If you want to see more updates and more posts, go check out the Instagram page, Tosh_Customs for more. I've been a little bit dead silent recently. Life's been busy, but such is life, such is taking care of health and taking care of other things. But I'm happy to be making content. It's always a blessing, and love having an audience who I can enjoy art and the custom work with. So I will catch you all next time. Much love. Take care.